Between 1998 and 2000, a series of murders shook the small Caribbean nation of Belize. 5 young girls vanished from the streets of Belize City. Their disappearances would expose a darkness the country had never known before. The press called him the Belize Ripper, a faceless killer whose precision baffled local police and drew the attention of the world. The victims were children, bright, hopeful, and deeply loved. What made the case so chilling wasn't only the brutality, but the method. The cuts were deliberate, the mutilation surgical. Whoever did this seemed to know exactly what he was doing. The murders continued for 2 long years. And then, without warning, they stopped. No arrests, no convictions. Just 5 graves and a wound that never healed. More than 2 decades later, the case remains unsolved. The name Belize Ripper still sends a quiet shiver through the city's narrow streets. Tonight, we revisit that time, not for shock or fear, but to remember the girls and to understand how a small nation faced its darkest chapter. This is the Untold Evidence. Belize City in the late 1990s was alive with color and noise. Wooden houses leaned toward the sea, children played football in the dusty streets, and the scent of salt and fried plantains drifted through open windows. But beneath the warmth of Caribbean life, tension simmered. The city's police force was small, fewer than 1,000 officers for an entire nation. Economic hardship and rising gang activity had already begun to stretch resources thin. People trusted one another, doors were rarely locked. Parents sent their children to school without fear. That sense of safety would vanish within weeks. On the morning of September 8, 1998, 13-year-old Shirley Nicholas left her home in the Balama area. She wore her school uniform, carried her books, and promised her mother she'd be home before dark. When she didn't return, her family knew something was wrong. They searched the neighborhood until well after midnight, calling her name through the narrow streets, their flashlights flickering against the mangroves. The next day, Shirley's body was discovered in a vacant lot not far from her route to school. She had been strangled. Her uniform was neatly folded beside her. The cuts on her body were clean, unnervingly so. Police at first believed the crime was isolated, a random act of violence, but within weeks, another girl would vanish, and Belize City would realize it was facing something far more sinister than anyone had imagined. 2 months after Shirley Nicholas was found, the unthinkable happened again. On November 13, 1998, 12-year-old Jackie Malik left home for choir practice at her school. She waved goodbye to her mother and vanished somewhere between her doorstep and the church. For 3 days, her family searched every street, every alley. Posters went up across Belize City. Reporters began to circle. Then a fisherman made a discovery in a drainage canal near the northern highway. Jackie's body had been dumped there. The same marks, the same careful mutilation. The wounds were so methodical that investigators thought they were looking at surgical work. Whoever this was, he wasn't acting out of rage. He was performing a ritual. Fear spread like wildfire. The newspapers dubbed the killer the Ripper. Belize had never seen serial crime before. The police were unprepared. Parents no longer let their daughters walk alone. Curfews were set by families, not law. But even with the city on edge, life had to continue. Kids still went to school, people still worked, and the killer watched. From where? No one knew. On February 24, 1999, 8-year-old Erica Wills disappeared while playing near her home. It was a bright afternoon, the kind where parents sit on porches and talk. Her mother called her in for lunch. Erica never answered. That evening, her shoes were found on a dirt path near a sugarcane field. A search team combed the area for days. When they found her, the scene was nearly identical to the others. The same injuries, the same careful arrangement. Belize City erupted in panic. The local radio stations interrupted their programs to report live from the scene. Pastors held prayer vigils. Politicians demanded action. The murders had gone beyond crime. They were now a national crisis. With 3 victims in 6 months, investigators began to believe they were hunting someone trained, someone intelligent, perhaps educated abroad. Some locals whispered about a doctor. Others spoke of witchcraft. Dark rituals meant to harvest power. The police, overwhelmed, sent a request for international help. And in the summer of 1999, 2 foreign agencies arrived in Belize City, the FBI and Scotland Yard. The eyes of the world were now watching. The arrival of foreign investigators brought hope and pressure. Belizean police were exhausted. With few resources and no forensic lab of their own, they relied heavily on outside help. The FBI and Scotland Yard established a small operations center inside the Belize Police Department. They analyzed photographs, autopsy reports, and maps of each discovery site. What they found disturbed even veteran agents. The cuts were clean, not savage or hurried. Whoever did this had anatomical knowledge, the kind only doctors, veterinarians, or medical students possess. They began interviewing anyone in the region with surgical training, hospital staff, university researchers, foreign medical volunteers. Dozens of names filled the board, but evidence was scarce. In a city of just 70,000 people, rumors spread faster than facts. One local pathologist became the focus of attention. He was known to work late nights, often alone, and had a reputation for temper and arrogance. Police questioned him twice. He denied everything. His home was searched, his medical tools examined. Nothing connected him to the crimes. With no forensic database, no DNA lab, and no digital records, the case stalled. Meanwhile, the killer didn't stop. In October of 1999, 14-year-old Nomi Hernandez was walking home from a friend's house. She never arrived. 2 days later, her body was discovered near an unfinished construction site on the city's south side. Once again, the same pattern, same mutilations, same careful positioning of the body. No fingerprints, no footprints. It was as if the killer had vanished into thin air after every attack. This time, Belize City broke. The streets emptied by dusk. Schools shortened their hours. People began sleeping with weapons nearby. Local newspapers ran front-page editorials demanding resignations. Protesters gathered outside the police headquarters holding signs that read, "Who's next? Where is the Ripper?" Under growing pressure, the Prime Minister announced a task force. "No stone will be left unturned," he said. "We will find whoever is responsible." But inside the police department, morale was collapsing. Case files were missing, evidence bags mislabeled. Some officers whispered that someone inside the department was sabotaging the investigation. The British agents from Scotland Yard quietly warned the government that corruption might be at play. But with no proof, they could do little. By the end of 1999, 4 young girls were dead. The world's attention turned briefly toward Belize, and then, as news cycles moved on, the headlines disappeared. The fear, however, stayed. The year was 2000. Belize City was weary, frightened, and angry. 4 girls were gone. The killer had vanished. People hoped, prayed. It was over. Then, on a warm afternoon in March, 9-year-old Jay Blades left her home to walk to a nearby store. She carried a few coins in her hand, wearing a pink shirt and blue shorts. Her mother said she'd be back in 10 minutes. Jay never came home. For a week, the nation searched. Volunteers scoured the mangroves and canals. Helicopters circled the coast. Radio stations repeated her name every hour. But no body was ever found. No clues, no trace. Jay Blades simply disappeared. Then something strange happened. The killing stopped. From that day forward, no more children went missing. Some believed the Ripper had left Belize. Others whispered that he was arrested abroad or that he died, taking his secret to the grave. But with no proof, the theories dissolved into silence. For the families, there was no closure, only the endless ache of not knowing. By 2001, the investigation had gone cold. The FBI and Scotland Yard withdrew their teams. Belizean authorities promised to continue the search, but files were boxed up and stored away. For the families, time did not move forward. Shirley Nicholas's mother kept her daughter's uniform folded neatly in a drawer that was never opened again. Jackie Malek's father still visits the spot where her body was found every year on her birthday. Nomi Hernandez's family moved away from the city, unable to bear the reminders that surrounded them. For them, and for Belize, the 1998 to 2000 killings became a wound that never closed. The city rebuilt. New homes rose where old ones had burned down. Children grew up, careful, watchful, raised by parents who had learned not to trust the quiet. Decades later, mention of the Belize Ripper still casts a long shadow. In cafes and markets, the name is rarely spoken aloud. Some deny he ever existed. Others say they remember the fear as if it were yesterday. A local journalist once wrote, "The Ripper did more than kill 5 children. He killed our innocence, and no one ever answered for it." Today, the case sits in a cabinet at police headquarters. Dusty, half forgotten. No new evidence. No new suspects. Just silence. Between 1998 and 2000, 5 girls lost their lives in one of the darkest chapters of Belizean history. Their families still wait for justice. Their names still echo through a city that has tried and failed to forget. Whoever the killer was, he walked away unseen. Maybe he left Belize. Maybe he died. Or maybe he's still out there, an old man now carrying a secret that will die with him. The truth, like the tide, always finds its way back. I'm your host, and this has been the Untold Evidence. Thank you for watching. If you want more true crime stories told with respect and depth, make sure you're subscribed. Each week, we uncover a case the world has tried to forget, one story at a time.